Regardless of your business model, there are likely a number of ways that you can close sales. In the traditional business sense, there are three main ways that a salesperson may generate revenue: in person, on the phone, or via email. For this topic, we're focusing on selling via email. So here's what we're going to be looking at. Firstly, why do people prefer to buy via email? How we can write one-on-one emails that sell, and lastly, crafting highly effective, content-driven mass email. So, why do people buy via email? Both phone and email sales have enjoyed their time in the sun in the sales industry, but gradually, year on year, more people negotiate and actually sell via email. There's a few reasons for this. While some of us are impulse buyers and trust our instinct, others may want more time to think about the things that we want to purchase. Negotiating and dealing via email gives people a lot of time and control to act on their own timeline. It also gives them the ability to read, reread, and clarify certain points. Email also gives more people much more of a feeling of security when dealing with data. Think about inputting your credit card details into a secure online portal rather than on the phone. For many, this is a much less risky way to buy. Conversely, buying over the phone may make people feel like they're pressured to act or make a decision. For some, this can be great, and it gives a good opportunity for the salesperson to instill urgency. However, many might feel like they might mishear things or not have a complete understanding of the product when being sold on the phone. Also, some people don't like giving credit card details over the phone, especially when they might not know too well who they're dealing with. It's a much riskier way to hand over data, and it could be subject to mistreatment. As mentioned, there are two different ways of selling via email that we're going to be taking a look at. Let's start from the top with one-to-one sales emails. I'm sure many of us have seen Glengarry Glen Ross, or we're at least familiar with the moment when Alec Baldwin decides to school some sales pros on the basics of selling. His big lesson? Always be closing. Sometimes when we're selling via email, it's easy to lose the impulse or urge to be closing all the time. This is why it's important to be closing something on every email. It doesn't have to be closing on someone buying your product. It could simply be closing them on a follow-up, receiving more information from them, and getting them further engaged in the sales process. One of the best ways to be able to close something on every email is to be constantly asking questions. You should still be a listener, even though things are happening via email. Asking questions is an art to be mastered, but you shouldn't be scared to ask the real ones. Here are some examples of key questions you may want to be asking via email. Use caution and make sure that the questions you're asking are relevant to the stage the person is at in the buying journey. Don't ask closing questions on the first email. Remember that closing the sale or even following up isn't your only option. In fact, marketers aren't the only ones who should be employing a multi-channel strategy. If you're tracking when people are opening your emails, try calling your prospect as soon as they open. Despite the fact that you might not be asking for a sale then and there, there's huge value in getting your prospect's gut reaction to what you've said in your email. If you catch them in the right moment, you may be privy to their key concerns and instincts. Never ever forget to be a human. People love buying from people, so ensure that you're injecting some of your personality into every email and building rapport with people. Email doesn't have to be free of small talk. So, now that we've looked at crafting killer one-to-one emails, how can we create the most effective, content-driven mass emails? Striking the balance between selling and informing is one of the biggest skills to master, and it transcends email and even sneaks into the way that we use social media to sell. You want to be able to give people a good amount of content, but you don't want to entirely focus on educating and forget to sell. It's just as dangerous to do this in reverse and oversell without providing value. So how do we do this? Your content should provide value to the lead in the form of educating them, but you don't have to do this at the expense of your product. Teach them about using your product as a solution to common problems. One of the most engaging pieces of content will always be telling a story to your prospects. Not only does it take them on a journey, but it makes you more relatable and makes your email appealing on a human level. And personalize your emails always. Even if you're sending mass mail, on a basic level, you should always be using first name data, but try segmenting your lists to send emails that are most relevant to your prospect. If you know their buying style, products of interest, or basic demographic information, then use this to your advantage. The more someone feels like they're being spoken to directly, the more likely they are to engage with you and your content. It doesn't matter if you're sending an email to one person or 100,000. You should be tracking everything to see what works for you and what doesn't. Keep note of opens and subject lines, calls to action and clicks, and most importantly, your response rates. Perhaps you crafted a one-to-one email that generated a 90% response rate, and its sister only had a 40% response rate. All of this information is vital for creating an ongoing email strategy that generates revenue and allows you to master selling via email. Since there are a number of ways that we can close sales, in the next lesson, we'll take a look at the other most effective way to do it, closing sales over the phone. Thank you.